So what is your center of mass and how can it help you in strength training? So for those that don't know, your center of mass is basically the center of all your weight in your body when you stand. So if you think about when you stand, where do you feel the weight in your feet? Is it more on your toes? Is it more on your heels? Is it more in the center of your foot? For most people, it's going to be more in the center of their feet, unless they're walking around like this. But how can this help us in strength training? So let's take a movement like a squat, for an example. When you do a squat, or if you have performed a squat before, where is your weight usually in your feet? Is it more forward of your stance? Is it more back of your stance? Is it more centered? Like, where do you feel the weight in your feet? This can have a dramatic effect on how your squat actually feels and functions. For example, let's say I perform a squat and I just say, I'm just gonna sit straight down in my squat, just like this, okay? If I'm focusing on keeping the weight in the center of my feet, which is what you want to do when you squat. For a lot of people, they like to shift their weight forward of their center of mass. So for example, if I was going to do that, I'd be more on my toes like this, and then I'd be squatting. And most of the time, you're going to be coming up onto your toes more, you're going to be kind of falling forward, and you're going to be dropping your chest first and lifting your bum first. This is a very big common thing that happens in people's squats. If we think about the opposite, where we squat down and we keep more of our weight in the back of our heels, we're going to almost be falling over, we're going to be pushing our bum back more, that sort of thing, which is also something we don't want in our squat. So what we really want to be focusing on is keeping the weight in the center of our feet, okay? So really thinking about keeping that pressure in the midfoot while we feel kind of our heels, feel the midfoot, and we can still put pressure and grab with our toes. This is something called the tripod foot. Feeling our weight more of a center of our stance when we squat is going to solve a lot of issues when I'm talking about the squat. For example, sitting straight down, keeping more of the weight in the outside of the foot, we're going to come out nice and centered instead of falling forward with our toes. So let's use an example of our back squat. If I come under this bar, and then I perform a back squat, if my weight is too far in my toes as I go down, what's going to happen is all my weight's going to shift forward of my center of mass, and when I push back up, usually what's going to happen is the bum's going to lift first, I'm going to push on top of myself, and I'm not really effectively going to be using the legs as well as I could be. And vice versa, if my weight's too far back in my heels and I'm squatting, I'm most likely going to be pushing my bum back too far and almost be falling over. So when we're squatting, keeping our center of mass over the center of our feet when we squat is going to allow you to perform a much better squat. So really being aware of our center of mass when we're doing exercises, mainly leg exercises, like a squat, like a deadlift, like a lunge, like a split squat, these sort of exercises, is really going to change the way that you move through these movements, and it can really make a massive impact on how easily you perform these and how well you incorporate certain muscle groups. So next time you're doing some of these exercises, really think about, where am I putting the weight in my feet? Where is my center of mass deviating? Because this can have a massive impact on your movement and what you get out of it.